Welcome to Dungeon Master 24. There are no level ups on this level, but it is important that you complete the entire quest before going on. I stole this from a film class. It's the Necronomicon by D.W. Griffith. Let's look into it. I don't understand why they keep printing that, but that looks like a triangle coming out of someone's nose, but it's actually a well-composed. Now, here we are in the city, and we're going towards the building, and we're looking back as though it's... Wait. Those were authors. We look at these stirring contents. Now, where we are now is behind the scenes at a circus in the movie that was made to be part of the spectacle of D.W. Griffith's second film, True Heart Susie. And that's Dr. Strangelove. I didn't understand how the movie was so historical, though. Because you see, at the end, everyone lives. And we all know that every war we've had, we've lost millions of lives. But I don't know what to do. I'm having a total aha. So now we have another step of this dungeon. The bulbous shape of upside-down breasts in a scene from Clockwork Orange that was taken out immediately for reminding anybody of a prurient interest, which the film was strictly psychological. I don't want to hear anybody about saying that it was off limits to show these bigger boobs, but everyone wants to know and is afraid to ask about sex does have boobs this big. I don't mean to comment so crassly on this, but isn't that same picture we already saw? Now, this is an interesting film. It's called The Cowboys, and it's where John Wayne on the right is actually in the army, and he marries Sidney Poitier on the left, and they get together and they have many children. Let's read. Over the noise and panic shrills the call to duty piping of Dax's whistle. Now we know that that's not Dax because we only saw Dax in the Dead Telluritis at the beginning of the tour. Oh, there's another crouch shot. They were playing football in the foxholes. And look at this. This is about amusement. If we can go through that corridor, we can set up the corridor shot. This is truly... Oh, and here's D.W. Griffith's Babylon set. Now, I can't remember which D.W. Griffith this movie was, but it looks like more of the same, so I'm going with Broken Blossoms.
Perfect. Track 2.
And that he breaks in at this moment and gets into the crib where there's kids is cool, and that we haven't seen any of this. Look at the scar on this guy's face. Is it not so scarred up that you cannot just simply call him Scarface the leader? And is he admirable even though he's a defunct captain? Look, it's someone on the phone. Someone's trying to get a hold of you. They say that Full Metal Jacket hasn't come out yet, but all the ideas came from this. And he's kneeling and praying before the bow of the Lord, and he says, "Give us off peace, so we can make distraction among thee." And time to look at that scar again. Yeah, it looks like it's healing, man. You know, you'll always have that scar, but, you know, your face will heal after a while. I wonder if that's the Lawrence of Arabia shot. And there is a bucket of meat and Buckethead. Which, how he ran into these two siblings from Alexander Nevsky, I don't know, but trust me, D.W. Griffith's Clockwork Orange was a strange movie. Now here is a chamber where you can get through the metal binding if you just push on. It's like the final house in the Eyes Wide Shut. Now here we are at a mansion where we're in the vertigo shot looking at paintings that we want to look like, but we have to find some obsessive dude that thought he killed us to do it. It's the vertigo shot. Only this time it looks like Grand Hotel. And here is the orchestra that was playing along to the tune, still trenched in passive glory, but still entrenched at sea. And this man is baffled. Now, he has an interesting part in this because he's not in the movie, but he makes shadow puppets on the left here. And this is suddenly a 2-page... We still have these men in army clothes. Like their army clothes are going to make a difference. But that looks like Ralph Mika from Kiss Me Deadly, so at least we got one film reference right. And now this is where this long line of people wait to go into Union Station from outside. They come from this back, and they've actually been trying to get on a bus for years, but haven't ever made it. Now they're going into the Royal Hall to get on a bus. But no need for us to tell you that the sprinklers weren't on that day. And then suddenly we stopped the event to turn them on. 2 people waved at us. And now we've got a weird nightgown hat. We're back together. We must journey now to the level half of this dungeon, where we get scrutinized just by being kind to each other and zipping down the book. And I must say, this is an image we have to see, because the Necronomicon says, "Ya, chalala, chalala," and that means smoke your cigars. And that may have been the cause of all his problems anyway, but look at this nebula cloud of jellyfish. Have we ever seen anything like that before? Maybe when we were in Prague. Now that he's spraying it down with nature oil is good, but every plant needs a mixer. Weed be gone and Miracle Grow all in one. This is D.W. Griffith's degree from college. Most people's degree in college do say the things that this says in pencil. And I'm getting peace on, or I don't even know, but it's what the P stands for is PhD. It's definitely D.W. Right? D.W. Griffith, of all people, deserves his PhD. Now look at how autistic these corridor shots are that aren't used in any of his movies. Are these all the... Now this is a factor we must look at for a while, because I'm beginning to think that there is a center of the universe, and the center of the universe is the sun. And the sun is gravitational towards the epic flow of monotony, which I intensely desire monotony. And so we see another nuclear bomb, and now we're so tired of seeing nuclear bombs. We've seen one, we've seen them all. It's like, why do we have to keep looking at nuclear bombs if we've already seen them? This is one of D.W. Griffith's best movies. Now this is the part where a monkey falls over and drops a handkerchief while catching a chicken bone in the other hand. And then he throws up the spiky heel of the bone. He actually makes a farewell gesture to it because he sees the UFO off in the distance. Now that this is a remake of Planet of the Apes is obvious. But in this one, they really are just apes that can't speak English. Which only human apes always speak English, of course. And here is something I've seen before in Dungeon Master. We have been to this level in Dungeon Master. How redundant you have gotten, Dungeon Master. Look, it's an angel floating from the sky. It's Darkstar. This CD is loud and dangerous, but I like it. Look at this guy. He's upside down and backwards. It's inside the computer drome, the spaceship.
Next one.
It's like in Berlin at the Zarathustra convention, where the spaceship takes you as high as the cameras will roam. Look at this as it goes whipping across the sky. It's sucking us all into some vortex. We're getting closer, closer. I don't remember these scenes from the movie. Oh, that one I remember. That's called A Corner in Wheat, where a man lines up for a little bit of bread and the whole scene gets stuck in a jam. Oh, look at this. This is something I haven't seen for a while. It's the eyes wide shut, the eye of the beholder, the eye, and maybe it's where the idea of computers come from in the first place. Now look at this. This looks like to be a denizen of some planet giving birth to a man. But how could it be a planet giving birth to a man if the man's giving birth to a planet? We'll ask him, can you project? He's too young to know, he says. Too young to know. The Necronomicon is getting very steady and has required us, page after page, to simply tune in to the color pages. Now, this is a D.W. Griffith film we've seen before called True Hot Susie 2, The Revenge. This is where she goes after her husband for leaving her to go to war and dying, only to send his best friend to take her place. And now she's like Kriemhilde's revenge. She wants revenge. I do know there was a remake of this movie in the 70s, and it was about better than this one, but this one is an old... Now, this is a scene from a movie called Barry Lyndon, which has an eye in it and blows up the world at the end, and there's a total James Mason-like heathenist in it. It's got this whole thing about Vietnam versus horror films. Jack Nicholson makes a cameo, and Ralph Meek in it again, and Kirk Douglas actually is remaking Spartacus while it's all going on, and that I just don't want to get off this picture is kind of true, and that I haven't had this much fun recording a single picture in my life, so let's go on. I don't think that the movie we're talking about has anything to do with the big orgy in the middle. Alright, gotta flip the page, we're getting sexist, hang on. Feminists don't approve, feminists don't approve. Now there's Ryan O'Neal, and I'd recognize him anywhere. And this is when Griffith was on his deathbed. See, there's Griffith on his deathbed. And when Griffith was on his deathbed, he used to tell me that he was a dark wizard. That he would change his name someday to Stanley Kubrick, but nobody knows what that means. Just as an interesting focus. Whenever I take a bath, I hear it on the soundtrack too. I hear it on the soundtrack and I do weep. I do weep for thee. Look, another smoker. The smokers are represented in such good light. Good light. Well, this book is kind of boring. Let's see if there's any good pictures. Babylon Set, Part 2. Anguish Commiserator 3. Mom who's like too busy in the spectacle and drunk to care. The aristocracy loses an heir to the throne. Too sad to watch. I'm sad now. But this is cheering me up. This is the signing of the Declaration of Independence for all I know. Unless that's what he's carrying in his lunchbox is the Declaration of Independence. This is from a movie called National Treasure, where she is down below Wall Street and trying to find the hidden treasure that sustains it all, and yet water is roiling out of a drenchy kaleidoscope jukebox. And I look at this picture, and it looks like somehow we're back in Rembrandt's museum. And he's taken us to the library, and he's taken us to the Library of Congress, and no books are there. But that it's like a Victorian painting, and a Victorian painting is well to do. That only here does she express a sadness so lonely, and he expresses a defeat so bad finally, that the whole wave of influence is taken out of them, and everything from his West Point duel to his graduation as Colonel Custer is really interesting, because this Custer goes out with an alcohol trip, and I don't think Custer really liked alcohol, which is reason enough to like alcohol. But look at this guy. I remember you dungeons ago. And that is Marisa Berenson, no mistake.
Next track, please.
Now, this kid thinks he can see something through a wall, and that's okay, because he can see through a double door. He can see everything. He can see the T-Rex running at him. He can see the whole thing. But this is a picture of Farley McGranger, who was the blaxploitation version of everything Farley Granger told him to be. And that's why we have such a gap in black cinema. Now look at this. He's looking down at the maze and he's totally shuddering in silence because he's never tried to solve a maze like this, and he's not going to start now. And that he's not going to start now is because this room is so full of 2001 A Space Odyssey looking room that I kind of like it. Let's hang out in this room for a while. Look, it's the kid with his toys. Look, it's the Slaughterhouse Sisters. And they've completely slaughtered each other. She's writing the script. That's D.W. Griffith's stand-in, Lillian Gish. And this is Richard Bottleness doing a Jack Nicholson impression. And I'm not sure what his name is, but he looks like he's in one of Kubrick's silent films. And look at him lying backwards. Isn't he about to stretch his hand and get the I fallen right can't get up button? Oh, this is North by Northwest by Alfred Hitchcock, when the car comes reaming down the side when they're all forced to drink. I've seen that before. Now this is when he couldn't get in through the emergency exit to save his family, so he has to chop the door down to get them out in case of a potential fire. They're so afraid of the fire that they're standing back there, and he told them to anyway, because an axe is coming through. This is when I had Thanksgiving with my wife, and we made a movie, and well, it's the only movie of mine that's popular, and it's called Woman with My Knife, Man Antagonizing Her. And it's actually already out on DVD, and I haven't seen it, but I hear it's terrible. Oh, he's late for class. Get to class. I'm late for class myself. So, my friends and unwilling saboteurs of all things cinematic, you have learned the story of D.W. Griffith from this, and may it be known that my stories are never inaccurate about D.W. Griffith, and that he's a legend among filmmaking, but he changed his name to Stanley Kubrick, disowned all of his films, and made Birth of a Nation anyway. Only it was called Eyes Wide Shut the second time, and everybody was remaking Birth of a Nation from then on out. And now this is an actual picture of a Kubrick movie called Spartacus, where the sanctioned class is putting the dear Spartacus to death, and that man in a robe really bothers me because he's not in the film. Not in the film, not on your life. And since there's no more pictures of Nicole Kidman sitting in her underwear, and this actually has been, I just realized, Kubrick, so we might have to go back through it and take out all the times I said that it was D.W. Griffith, but remember, Stanley Kubrick had his name changed to D.W. Griffith. A quick filmography. We forgot to cover a few in one of the jokes, but that's okay. I say these to the Master Lord Kubrick, and in all things, vamonos.